Every year a game drops, and someone says reusing assets is lazy. If you agree, hold that thought. This is Patch Notes, a series that isn't about my opinions. Spare a few minutes, we're gonna think like system designers and look at 7 reasons games flip assets. For anyone interested, there'll be a mini tutorial later in the video. You'll need an Epic account. It's free. Here's Epic's site. Just follow the on-screen instructions. You'll also need a Mixamo account, also free. You'll find links to Epic and Mixamo downstairs. Feel free to pause while you set up. If you just want to watch,
it's fine!
To start, around 2015 a widespread controversy popped off during the Steam apocalypse, when low standards led to low-effort shovelware titles, leading James Stephanie Sterling to coin the term asset flip, as in cobbled together, barely functioning games. I don't like early calls to action in videos. Feels like I haven't earned it. Call this an experiment. So if you wouldn't mind hitting like and sub, it really does go a long way, and I truly would appreciate it. Thanks in advance. To get back to it, what exactly is animation reuse? Simply put, it's sharing animations across sprites, 3D models, or game objects by altering details like speed, impact, or visual effects. Now, let's talk about how the sausage gets made, using a visual aid. Ken and Ryu are the poster boys of reuse. Even if you've never played Street Fighter, you probably recognize these Eskimo bros who shared moves for decades. 1991 Street Fighter 2,
Hadouken!
1996 Street Fighter Alpha,
Shoryuken!
2023 Street Fighter 6.
That's what's fit!
Originally released in 1987, Ken is literally Ryu in a blonde wig and red gi. But why reuse moves at all? You actually know the answer. We're talking kilobytes of game storage. Memory, stages, modes, characters, animation, and budget. Everything was in limited supply. Back then, this was a simple solution allowing developers to expand playable character rosters, enemies, items, and abilities. It also lent itself to the story, saying they both trained under the same master. They've since been given unique variations in playstyles to differentiate them. Ken is an aggressive rushdown, while Ryu is a more defensive, zoning-focused character. Before we look at the rest, let's dig into this debate, using a gamer and a developer's perspective. This is a tweet from Sean Phillips, environmental artist at ILM Lab. It's hard. We reuse stuff a lot, not because we're lazy, but because it's a waste of time and money to remake something that works perfectly fine. Also, sometimes to save performance or lower the size of the game file. Not every game developer is a designer or programmer. For comparison, next a post from a Steam discussion about Elden Ring Night Rain. The user Seraph said, essentially, we're getting a mod, not a game, and it can't cost that much. The boss's reuse was annoying in the regular Elden Ring. What's the truth? Nope. I'm not here to tell you what to think. Let's just keep going. I've played a lot of Final Fantasy, and I was disappointed every game. I'd get to the next area only to see the same enemy with a different color and a new name. That's a palette swap. I knew what I was seeing, but not the reason behind it. A palette swap reuses sprites, models, monsters, anything really, then gives them a different color, often with a new name to match. Mortal Kombat's Ninja Rainbow is the example, because Sub-Zero wouldn't exist without palette swaps. 5 years after Street Fighter II released, Ed Boon and John Tobias wanted a bigger roster for Mortal Kombat. But in 1992, memory is still an issue, so they colored Scorpion blue and called him Sub-Zero. One of the most iconic characters in gaming was created on the fly. They used the same trick to create Reptile and Rain, but unlike Ken and Ryu, MK Ninjas have always had unique moves. If you recognize any of these characters, without palette swaps and reused animations, some of your favorite characters wouldn't exist. and a lot of games would be a lot smaller. This is a book. This is a skeletal mesh. What's that mean?
Don't think about it.
Doesn't matter. What does, I'm gonna turn that skeletal mesh into this book, starting by shrinking the block to size. Then I duplicate it, change the angle and line up the two halves. I right-click, then select Convert to Static Mesh. I add a texture, and we have our book. If you can do it in less than 3 minutes, would you really want to model that? Asset reuse makes time for what matters. Here's the question. If I hadn't shown you, would you know? Especially if players will never see it close up. Tricks like this are used in every game we play. I'm not just saying that. I learned this from a AAA developer. This developer, Greg Wandra, in his Udemy Character Skill System course. I get it. You want to know you're getting what you paid for. You don't need a degree to understand game dev. We need honest research commentary. Without it, remember that Night Rain discussion? The user Decision says, I see a lot of cope in the positive reviews. Many players don't want to admit they bought a trash game. Lol. Even seamless co-op mod in the first Elden Ring is more fun than Night Rain. Being fair, fun is subjective. But let's walk through the rest with some developer insight. Mark Darrow put out a video years back when people found out Horizon 2 was reusing Aloy's repel animation. For context, Darrow equates this to visiting a restaurant.
I don't think there's anything wrong with this animation, so why would you want to change it? It's actually a great animation. If there was a problem with this animation, then sure, then I could see demanding that it change. And I would argue that the studio would be changing it anyway if there was a problem with it.
How many ways can you animate a dodge, punch, etc.? 5? Maybe 10? Reinventing the wheel isn't innovation. I can show you. This is the Stylers Combat Starter Pack. I picked it up so that I could study how it was made. Red and blue models are exactly the same, but they share and have unique animations. If you're on PC and want to try it out, you'll find a link to the demo downstairs. But what you really want to know is, why are modern games flipping assets? Great question, thanks for asking. This fireball will be our metaphor. It's actually 2 assets. The tail I made in Engine. The body is an Infinity Blade asset. For comparison, the finished fireball looks completely different. Every studio does this to some degree. Like this tiny game you might have heard of. Elden Ring sold over 30 million copies. Reusing animations from Dark Souls and Sekiro for combat, movement, and some attacks. So what? Like, no, really, so what? We're talking about Elden Ring. Its success is its scale and polish. FromSoft made dozens of new animations. Reusing assets only increased the total. Yeah, AAA games are risk-averse. They need to be. Indie games can afford to be more creative. But the indie space is where assets are abused. Because indies can be as dirty as EA, Ubisoft, or any other industry. Let's think like designers. Question: how would you design a fatality? Option 1, create a unique death animation for every character. That works. It's also months of extra effort without a drop of innovation. Option 2, swap the colors of blood and innards. Remixing assets streamlines development. I actually got the idea for this video playing Mortal Kombat 11. I also needed to bury this section, because Johnny Cage's fatality is bloody. Skip to the timestamp on screen if you're not up for that.
Are you ready?
Now about that fatality. Check this out. Most characters just bleed, while Deborah bleeds blue and bug bits. Spawn's blood is green. RoboCop? Wires and oil. But organs or wires all move the same. Anim reuse and palette swaps are everywhere, and we don't notice 99.95% of the time. Nor do we give grief to Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. The issue seems to be wholesale reuse. Remember Avengers? Sure you do. It's the game everyone loved to hate, especially after Winter Soldier used Captain America and Black Widow's animations. And the song that doesn't end began to play again. Developers are lazy. This game has no budget.
You can see as yourself. So you can see the 1, 2, 3, and the kick, and the thrust, and then the arm shove, and all these things. He'll eventually show Captain America's moveset. Right here you can see. He'll immediately switch to Captain America. And as he... engages with his moveset, you can see it's pretty much damn near identical animations. And a lot of people are kind of highlighting how this really shows that this game has no budget, is what this user speculates. Avengers' budget is non-existent at this point, my god.
But this is totally normal, and it says nothing about Midnight Suns. Great game, by the way. You should really pick it up if you haven't. It released not long after Avengers, and multiple characters share animations. How about Expedition 33, released April 2025? Did you know characters in all 3 games share animations? And the Expedition 33 team used store-bought assets. My apologies, Sunfall devs, but the internet says you're lazy. I can't believe Expedition 33 had no budget. Like, no, really, I don't believe that. Why? This is Final Fantasy XI, and this is Blue Mage using the abilities of Flux, Chain Affinity, and Burst Affinity, while this is Third Eye, Meditate, and Hasso from the Samurai job. As you can see, these 2 jobs reuse the same animation 6 times between them. Dozens of jobs use that animation. Every ability still does something different. Sure, we noticed it. We joked about it. But Final Fantasy XI released May 16th, 2002, dropping 6 full expansions and 6 story scenarios in 22 years. 11 had a budget and massive support. It was Final Fantasy's most profitable title by 2012, only losing its spot to Final Fantasy XIV in 2021. Reuse might be a budgetary problem. More often than not, it's just good design. Making the last question, how do you retarget animations? Retargeting, or motion retargeting, no matter what you call it, it's built into game engines. Unreal Engine calls it animation retargeting, as in mapping animations from one model to another. And here's the reason I had you download UE earlier. Remember our options from the Fatality example? Option 1, spend months animating. Option 2, why when you already have animations? If you want to follow along, create a new project like I'm doing on screen. From here on in, I'll just let Stephen Ubari explain. He's a AAA developer and software engineer.
Next, I'm going to log into Mixamo and download any animation with the skin. So this will come with the character that I currently have selected in Mixamo. I'm going to download that. And back in my third-person template project, I'm just going to make a completely new folder called Mixamo. Here in Mixamo, I'm going to take my brand new FBX file that I downloaded from Mixamo and drag it straight into my Mixamo folder. Now I want to import the mesh, so I'm going to leave skeletal mesh and import mesh checked, leave the skeleton blank, and check import animations, as we should have one animation. I'm going to click import all and ignore the message log. We can close that. And we now have a new skeletal mesh and a new animation. I can open that animation and make sure that it looks good, which it does. And I'll just quickly organize this folder by renaming the skeletal mesh to SK Mixamo. And I'm going to rename the skeleton to SKEL Mixamo. Use whatever naming conventions you like. I'll call the physics asset PHYS Mixamo. And we got two animations. One of them is just a T-pose. I don't want that one. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that animation with force delete and rename the dancing animation to dancing. And I'm just going to make a new folder called materials and place these two materials in that folder. And I usually like to keep my animations in their own folder. So I'll make a new folder called animations and move dancing into that folder. So I've basically just created a third-person template project. So I have the Unreal Engine mannequin, and I also brought in the Mixamo skeletal mesh that I chose from the Mixamo site. And we have a single animation here of this character dancing. And I'd like to show how to get this animation retargeted onto the Unreal Engine mannequin. And the process is much easier than it used to be. All I need to do is browse to this dancing animation that I'd like to retarget, right-click, and select Retarget Animations. We now have a Retarget Animations window where we can choose the source skeletal mesh and the target skeletal mesh. Now, the first time you choose a skeletal mesh, it's going to close out the window skeletons for humanoids, including the Mixamo skeleton, both the new and the old Unreal Engine mannequins, DAZ 3D, metahumans, and so on. And because my source skeletal mesh is the Mixamo skeletal mesh, I see all animations that share that skeleton. So I could retarget multiple animations by selecting all of them here. And the final step is to click on Export Animations. And we just need to choose where we'd like those animations exported. Now we're retargeting to the Manny skeletal mesh. So I'm going to go to the characters folder and find mannequins, animations, Manny, and I'll just put the new dancing animation here. Clicking on Export, we don't have to check overwrite existing files. We can leave these settings as is and choose Export. And now we have a new dancing animation, and it's retargeted to the epic Manny skeleton.
Oh boy, broke that down in 3 minutes because it really is that simple. I'm showing you all this to drive home. The answers we want have been publicly available for over a decade. When I started planning my game, I knew it was a lot of work. I'm currently scrolling through all the assets I got from Unreal Engine. I'm not going to use most of this stuff. Sure, I can model and animate most of what I need. I could also buy it. But buying combat, inventory, or similar systems means getting features I don't need. So when it comes to core systems, if I didn't build it, I don't want it. Assets are different. Sure, I don't want random animations and assets. So I spent a month window shopping. I got lucky and found an artist with a very similar art style who also worked in AAA development. Meaning, I get industry quality assets. Doing it this way, I only make what really truly matters. Cutting dev time from years to slightly fewer years. Because even with store-bought assets, there's still plenty to code, model, and animate. Imagine Mortal Kombat, but no Sub-Zero. How about Street Fighter and no Ken? Who is
Mario?
without
Luigi Mario.
Games are closed environments. Money, memory, time, all in limited supply. To get games out the door, something's gotta give. Asset reuse gets work done in minutes instead of hours or days. From the indie scene to AAA, from the dawn of gaming to modern day. Nearly any and every game we play does this. If you hate crunch, then retargeting, asset flips, and palette swaps are tools, letting developers put in work where it actually matters, without piling more on overworked studios. So after all this, can a villain ask, how do you feel about asset reuse? Tell me in the comments. Either way, remember,
must be free of bugs.